The lance, the chattest of weapons. Very few understand the magnitude of its power. It's rumored that the devs increased its damage by 0.00001% to flying wyverns and dragons. And this is what makes the lance so powerful. I had to learn the lance, and this is no simple task, mind you. One cannot just use a lance, one must obtain a lance. After doing extensive research and then throwing away the research because I got lazy, I crafted the easiest to get set, the Kamura Fine Lance. Now you may be wondering, this isn't very optimal. Who cares about optimal? I'm looking for that percent increase, okay? Thank you. And with that said, while I am equipped with a lance now, I don't have the armor to suit. I mean, you need such specific skills to be absolutely perfect on the lance. After a bit of grinding, I did manage to scrape this set out, and I'm too lazy to read it, so it's just on screen. It provided a decent attack boost and some guarding skills. The issue now is my lack of decorations. I usually run high DPS weapons in builds, so I didn't have any of the defensive decorations you need for lance, such as the guarding or shield decorations. This meant I had to do even more grinding. But this is where I decided to do my first quest with the lance. I needed to hunt Basarios. Okay, I needed to hunt Basarios. Since this was only a Master Rank 2 quest, I figured that not having the optimal decorations wouldn't be too much of an issue. And it truly was no issue. I managed to get it all the way through with no faints. As I played through this quest, however, I began to wonder, is it more to the Lancer's poke? It seemed almost too simple. Poke, poke, poke. There had to be more, so I had to do extensive research. I reached out to the top lance player in the world, and they ignored me, so I decided to just settle for their speedruns. I discovered some new techniques and decided to bully this turtle-looking thing. While practicing and testing out some things, I realized I was missing a fundamental skill on this build, the spiral thrust. This was a counter speed rushing switch skill thing that was absolutely fundamental for not only movement, but also that counter damage, because you got a boost when you counter. So that means I would have to go back in the high rank to the quest I decided to skip, learning the lance. But before we get to that, we have something more important to deal with. That's right, the Amiibo Lottery! Yes, I did spend a lot of money on Amiibos to get a slight marginal advantage on the average player. Now you may be wondering, was it worth it? Probably not, but I like how they look, so I decided to keep them. Now after speedrunning the Amiibo Lottery, it was time to do learning the lance. Like I said before, it's a high rank quest. It's just capture a Rathon, and it was super simple. With my new switch skill in hand, I decided to test my skill with the lance. And I decided to take on an anomaly Blood Orin Bishtin. This quest ended up being a success, except the last second curse kicked in and gave me a BS death. This was it. I was starting to finally feel the power of the lance. I felt almost content, but there was something missing. I needed to further push my limits, go plus ultra, and I decided to hunt Golden Rathon. Now think about it. It is the perfect opponent for the lance. It's basically a dragon, I'm just saying. And it's also gold. I mean, it lines up with the myth so perfectly, I had to go bully it with this lance. With that said, I've never gone against a Golden Rathon, so this was a new experience for me. But I mean, come on, it's a Rathon. You would think with that type of ego and enthusiasm, I would be able to easily mop Rathon. Unfortunately for me, I decided to whiff for the first 5 minutes of the quest. I just could not hit the Rathon for the life of me. But as the quest progressed, I started to grow into this fight. It proved to be a true test of my skill as I started rapidly evolving on this weapon. And before I knew it, I had taken down Golden Rathon with a slap in the face that was this faint, but other than that, I felt good. And I mean, by all means, this weapon was not mastered, but it was good enough to just pull out if I needed it. And that concluded my long and arduous 2-hour learning of the lance. We met many friends along the way and traveled through many lands. I learned a ton of life lessons such as poke, poke, and wait. Lazio, where have you been?
And why do such a trash video?
I'll answer this question in 2 parts. Part 1, I've been at home. So recently I moved out of my school dorm. So I'm waiting to move back into another school dorm. So I haven't been streaming or doing anything because my room's a mess. Like, you guys don't want to see it. And part 2, why'd you have to be so mean, man? I ran out of ideas after the first one. Monster Hunter World with no items is just the peak of my creativity. But no worries, I'll be back before you know it. There'll be plenty of streams and plenty of videos probably, as long as I can stay on top of it. With that said, I'm out.